Okay, let's get started. Welcome to this month's Filr product update webinar. My name's Robin Redgrave, and hopefully we'll have Girish on the call at some point, who's the Filr product manager. Unfortunately, he's out and about at the moment for the protected share link. So obviously things like the password and the settings enabling it and enabling the password side of things. So yes, there will be schema updates for that. Emilios also is asking which 24.x version will have long-term support. That's going to be the 24.4 release. So with all our products, it's the 24, it's the .4 release, so the release that comes out in the fourth quarter, typically October, that will have the long-term support. So that's going to be 3 years support there. The .1, .2, .3 releases typically have 1 year support there. Can you mix 23.4 and 24.2? I don't think you can. I personally, I would not try it. Kyle, have you tried that, mixing versions in a cluster? I don't think it works, does it?
It might work, but for years we've had a strong position, which I agree with, that you must be consistent with everything across the board. So no, I wouldn't do it. You're at your own risk if you try it.
Yeah, I think that's most probably my feeling.
And by the way, I'm not seeing. I don't know how the rights are distributed, but I'm not seeing the questions. So sorry that I'm not reading the questions.
You got out of that one.
I did. And I say sorry, but I don't feel that bad, actually.
Indeed. Okay, so
oh, I just found it. Now I have to answer.
You've now
okay.
Got it. Well, yeah, just as I'm coming to the end there, I think the other question you've got, we can take offline, Emilios. So Kevin is mentioning, I didn't mention that we've got some additional ciphers that are being supported. And Kevin's stating they all appear to be FIPS 140 ciphers. So are we getting closer to being able to operate a Filr server in FIPS mode? And that would be quite exciting. I think, it's something obviously I think would be good to happen, but I'll leave that to the product group to make a statement on, Kevin, there. Paolo's asking about the allow share links to be password protected. Yes, that's only in Filr Advanced. Sorry, I should have mentioned that, that it's a Filr Advanced feature. I skipped over the slide that I think had that on rather quickly. So there. Dietmar's asking, there's no PSL, that's passworded share links for GroupWise. Any date on this? I'm not aware of a date there. That would be something for the GroupWise team, because all of that integration is done from the GroupWise side using the standard REST APIs. But hopefully they will conform to that in one of their releases later on this year. Emilios is saying that he's running 23.4 and 24.1. I assume in the same cluster, following in from our conversation earlier. So he's mixing it there, but as I said, that's not a supported environment. Okay. Ken's asking the question about long-term support and appliances. And when applying updates, you can only update to effectively a short-term release with security patches and so on, typically. I think that's something that the development team are looking into, how to get that to work, and what the best way is for that to happen, Ken. And Kevin, if I remember, I'll try posting the slides up on the community forum. And I now have, as of 2 days ago, also got a Filr YouTube playlist set up for the part of Filr webinars. So I'll start posting those up to YouTube as well. I know some people had issues with them being on GoToWebinar before when we had them up there. So hopefully having them on YouTube means that you won't have problems playing them back. So I think most probably, oh, one more question. Cobus asking, I don't quite understand the question there, Cobus. What are we moving away from? If it's WebEx, I think we're stuck on WebEx for the moment. I'm not planning to move away from that. Okay, let's crack on. So next, we're over to Kyle, who's going to take us through some of the support fixes that were in the 24.2 release. I'm just going to make you the presenter, Kyle.
Great.
There you go.
Thank you. And I'm just, okay. So yeah, what we're going to talk about first here is what is in the 24.2 release. I'm going to mention each of these. This is in the view info. When you go, the 9443 page, and you go to the updates, you can highlight any update and click at the view info, and you'll see something similar to this. The first issue listed here is the app server logs are flooded with JITs, just-in-time sync, and full sync net folder messages using excessive disk space. I just wanted to share with you some commands that I like, and the df-h, of course. Many of you probably know this, but you can see which of your partitions and how full are they. This is something I look at regular with customers. Oh, by the way, I'm Kyle. I work in support. I probably talked with many of you personally, and good to talk with you again here. But here's a command. There's two commands I use to look for large files. And here we're looking specifically in var. I could change this to anything else. I could do VA storage, VA share, whatever I want. But I'm going to look at var for now. And it will show me the top 15 largest files, which this is a test server. It's not very interesting. So for you, you might see log files here. I'm not sure what you'll see, but if you want to see if there's any runaway files taking up disk space, specifically a log file, var is a good place to look. And I like this command because it lists it in order and shows me the largest one. Here's another command. It's similar, and also it's looking in var. It's looking at it in a different way. So I just want to make you aware of those commands. I think so, Robin. If you're going to share stuff, I might share some commands because I'm going to be talking about some other things later. If there's a way I can share these commands and other commands.
You can pop them in the chat window.
Okay.
Or, then everyone will get those.
All right. I'll do that.
You should have access to the chat window.
Yeah, I think I do. Yep, I will do that. So that's one issue. The other is a cosmetic, kind of awkward issue where the logout is displayed even though you're not logged in. So not terribly severe issue, but the lock word, so that's resolved. We now support ECC, elliptic curve certificates. I haven't worked much with them, but I've talked with other support people. They've talked with customers who've used these certificates, and they are supported now. Here's an issue that I've worked with a few customers with advanced authentication, the newer versions of advanced authentication and the newer versions of Filr. Both the web and desktop clients intermittently get logged out. That's resolved. As a side note, I am working with one customer actually that has the same symptom, but it's a different cause. So the patch that we've been, so with 24.1, there's a PTF that we've been giving customers, and it's resolved it for quite a handful of customers, except for one. So I just wanted to mention that. If you are still seeing this issue after 24.2, I suggest you open a case, and maybe you're in this outlier situation that this one other customer's in. And we'll want to work with you and get that figured out. So yeah, that's a really good fix. It's helped quite a few people. And then, and here's a fix that prevents brute force attacks with CAPTCHA and Filr. There's also an update to the PostgreSQL vulnerability fix, and then another content editor, also a vulnerability update. So yeah, and as you can see, there was not an update to the search server. So those are the updates in 24.2. And one comment I want to make, and in some ways I'm the best person to say this, in some ways I'm the worst person to say this. So I work in support, so I only hear from people when things go bad. But I just want to give a plea, a strong suggestion, a a voice of warning. Whenever you do an update, even if it's like a small one, like 24.1 has a 24.1.1, like, oh, that's a 1.1, that's a small update. I don't need a snapshot. I just want to encourage you to do a snapshot. Is there a big reason to? I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that question, because I'm the person people talk to when there's a problem. And yeah, I've a lot of you are really good about it, and it's been really nice, because if there is a problem, we can always go back. So anyway, that's my plea, my suggestion. Make a snapshot anytime you do an update. It's a good idea to do snapshots on a semi-scheduled basis, and prior to an update is probably one of the best times to do it. So with that, Robin said he was kind enough, and he said, hey, you can take even more time and cover whatever you want. So I actually have something I would like to cover. One of a question we get quite a bit in support, and Robin, I'm not watching the questions. Before I go on to this next subject?
Don't worry, I will. I'll talk about if there are questions that come in. The only thing is that a few people have been saying, can you paste the commands in?
Yes. Yep, I will do that.
You've got that, but otherwise nothing yet on that side of things. Some other questions coming in, but
okay. Well, you can interrupt at any time.
Well, they're not to do with what you're talking about. So.
That's okay. I'm about to switch subjects, so now's a good time if someone wants to, and I can.
Okay, well, let's go through some of the questions that have been coming in there.
Okay.
For the protected share link. So obviously things like the password and the settings, enabling it and enabling the password side of things. So yes, there will be schema updates for that. Emilios also is asking which 24.x version will have long-term support. That's going to be the 24.4 release. So with all our products, it's the 24, it's the .4 release. So the release that comes out in the fourth quarter, typically October, that will have the long-term support. So that's going to be 3 years support there. The .1, .2, .3 releases typically have 1 year support there. can you mix 23.4 and 24.2? I don't think you can. I personally, I would not try it. Kyle, have you tried that, mixing versions in a
I
cluster? I don't think it works, does it?
it might work, but for years we've had a strong position, which I agree with, that you must be consistent with everything across the board. So no, I wouldn't do it. You're at your own risk if you try it.
Yeah, I think that's most probably my feeling. Um,
And by the way, I'm not seeing. I don't know how the rights are distributed, but I'm not seeing the questions. So sorry that I'm not reading the questions.
you got out of that one.
I did, and I say sorry, but I don't feel that bad actually.
Indeed. Okay, so uh,
Oh, I just found it. Now I have to
you,
answer.
you've now
Okay.
got it. Well, yeah, just as I'm coming to the end there, um, I think the other question you've got, we can take offline, Emilios. So Kevin is mentioning, oh, I didn't mention that we've got some additional ciphers that are being supported. And Kevin's stating they all appear to be FIPS 140 ciphers. So are we getting closer to being able to operate a filer server in FIPS mode? And that would be quite exciting. I think, yeah, it's something obviously I think would be good to happen, but I'll leave that to the product group to make a statement on, Kevin, there. The Paolo's asking about the allow share links to be password protected. Yes, that's only in Filer Advanced. Sorry, I should have mentioned that, that it's a Filer Advanced feature. I skipped over the slide that I think had that on rather quickly. So there. Dietmar's asking, there's no PSL, that's passworded share links for GroupWise. Any date on this? I'm not aware of a date there. That would be something for the GroupWise team, because all of that integration is done from the GroupWise side using the standard REST APIs. But hopefully they will conform to that in one of their releases later on this year. Emilios is saying that he's running 23.4 and 24.1. I assume in the same cluster, following in from our conversation earlier. So he's mixing it there, but as I said, that's not a supported environment. Okay. Ken's asking the question about long-term support and appliances. And when applying updates, you can only update to effectively a short-term release with security patches and so on, typically. I think that's something that the development team are looking into, how to get that to work, and what the best way is for that to happen, Ken. And Kevin, if I remember, I'll try posting the slides up on the community forum. And I now have, as of 2 days ago, also got a Filer YouTube playlist set up for the part of Filer webinars. So I'll start posting those up to YouTube as well. I know some people had issues with them being on GoToWebinar before when we had them up there. So hopefully having them on YouTube means that you won't have problems playing them back. So I think most probably, oh, one more question. Cobus asking, I don't quite understand the question there, Cobus. What are we moving away from? If it's WebEx, I think we're stuck on WebEx for the moment. I'm not planning to move away from that. Okay, let's crack on. So next, we're over to Kyle, who's going to take us through some of the support fixes that were in the 24.2 release. I'm just going to make you the presenter, Kyle.
Great.
There you go.
Thank you. And I'm just, okay. So yeah, what we're going to talk about first here is what is in the 24.2 release. I'm going to mention each of these. This is in the view info. When you go, the 9443 page and you go to the updates, you can highlight any update and click at the view info and you'll see something similar to this. The first issue listed here is the app server logs are flooded with JITs, just-in-time sync, and full sync net folder messages using excessive disk space. I just wanted to share with you some commands that I like. And the df-h, of course, many of you probably know this, but you can see which of your partitions and how full are they. This is something I look at regular with customers. Oh, by the way, Kyle, I work in support. I probably talked with many of you personally, and good to talk with you again here. But here's a command. There's two commands I use to look for large files. And here we're looking specifically in var. I could change this to anything else. I could do VA storage, VA share, whatever I want. But I'm going to look at var for now. And it will show me the top 15 largest files, which this is a test server. It's not very interesting. So for you, you might see log files here. I'm not sure what you'll see, but if you want to see if there's any runaway files taking up disk space, specifically a log file, var is a good place to look. And I like this command because it lists it in order and shows me the largest one. Here's another command. It's similar, and also it's looking in var. It's looking at it in a different way. So I just want to make you aware of those commands. I think so, Robin. If you're going to share stuff, I might share some commands because I'm going to be talking about some other things later. If there's a way I can share these commands and other commands.
You can pop them in the chat window.
Okay.
Or, then everyone will get those.
All right. I'll do that.
You should have access to the chat window.
Yeah, I think I do. Yep, I will do that. So that's one issue. The other is a cosmetic, kind of awkward issue where the logout is displayed even though you're not logged in. So not terribly severe issue, but a little awkward. So that's resolved. We now support ECC, elliptic curve certificates. I haven't worked much with them, but I've talked with other support people. They've talked with customers who've used these certificates, and they are supported now. Here's an issue that I've worked with a few customers with advanced authentication, the newer versions of advanced authentication and the newer versions of Filr. Both the web and desktop clients intermittently get logged out. That's resolved. As a side note, I am working with one customer actually that has the same symptom, but it's a different cause. So the patch that we've been, so with 24.1, there's a PTF that we've been giving customers, and it's resolved it for quite a handful of customers, except for one. So I just wanted to mention that. If you are still seeing this issue after 24.2, I suggest you open a case, and maybe you're in this outlier situation that this one other customer's in, and we'll want to work with you and get that figured out. So yeah, that's a really good fix. It's helped quite a few people. And then, and here's a a fix that prevents brute force attacks with CAPTCHA in Filr. There's also an update to the PostgreSQL vulnerability fix, and then another content editor, also a vulnerability update. So yeah, and as you can see, there was not an update to the search server. So those are the updates in 24.2. And one comment I want to make, and in some ways I'm the best person to say this, in some ways I'm the worst person to say this. So I work in support, so I only hear from people when things go bad. But I just want to give a plea, a strong suggestion, a a voice of warning. Whenever you do an update, even if it's like a small one, like 24.1 has a 24.1.1, like, oh, that's a 1.1, that's a small update. I don't need a snapshot. I just want to encourage you to do a snapshot. Is there a big reason to? I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that question, because I'm the person people talk to when there's a problem. And yeah, a lot of you are really good about it, and it's been really nice, because if there is a problem, we can always go back. So anyway, that's my plea, my suggestion. Make a snapshot anytime you do an update. It's a good idea to do snapshots on a semi-scheduled basis, and prior to an update is probably one of the best times to do it. So with that, Robin said he was kind enough, and he said, hey, you can take even more time and cover whatever you want. So I actually have something I would like to cover. One of a question we get quite a bit in support, and Robin, I'm not watching the questions. Before I go on to this next subject?
Don't worry, I will. I'll talk about if there are questions that come in. The only thing is that a few people have been saying, can you paste the commands in?
Yes. Yep, I will do that.
You've got that, but otherwise nothing yet on that side of things. Some other questions coming in, but
okay. Well, you can interrupt at any time.
Well, they're not to do with what you're talking about. So.
That's okay. I'm about to switch subjects, so now's a good time if someone wants to, and I can.
Okay, well, let's go through some of the questions that have been coming in there.
Okay.
And while I'm talking, you can go and paste commands in.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
On the chat window for everyone. So Cobus is a little bit concerned because SMG recently announced they were moving away from an appliance, just going for a install over the top type scenario, and concerned we're moving away from that. We're not. Certainly we're going to keep delivering Filr for the foreseeable future as appliances. I have not heard of any discussion around it not being an appliance there. So I think we're safe on that side, Cobus. Rodney is asking if there's any work towards supporting S3 Object Store as a backend for VA Share. I know we've been discussing being able to expose S3 storage, and you can do it to some extent already with OES, where, and I know we've done some work with one of our customers getting Filr to work with CIS and ensure it didn't demigrate files and that sort of thing. I'm not sure if that works with VA Share, but I can imagine if you're using personal storage, that's the bit that will be taking up quite a bit of space usually on VA Share, that you may want to have that in S3 storage. I know it's something that has been discussed. I'm not aware of any direct plans for supporting it at the moment, but it's something that we talk about from time to time, so may well happen at some point in the future. Paolo was asking about a summary of what's in the Filr Advanced and not in Filr Standard. There's a PDF file which I posted back into the Q&A, which I see you found, but if other people want it, if you look in the Q&A, there's an answer there with a PDF link. I don't think it's got the protected share links in yet, because obviously that only got released 2 or 3 days ago, so we need to get that updated with that there. And then one last question, and this most probably is something for you to comment on as well, Kyle, is Mare, and I apologize if I've mispronounced your name, asking, is there a problem with 2411 desktop client not honoring a blacklist, whitelist, and randomly downloading files? I'm not aware of anything along those lines. I haven't heard it before. The only for 24.1, but in general, if there's an application, and usually this starts happening when something like the virus checker gets updated, or some sort of inventory program is updated and the executable name changes, that when that scans through the desktop directory, it will download files there, and it may be that the executable name has changed. What I suggest you do is set the option temporarily to be whitelist and blacklist, and then on the client, when it tries to do that, if it's not in the whitelist or the blacklist, it will pop up and tell you what the what's trying to download the file. So that will give you a hint as to what to exclude in your blacklist or whitelist. Typically, just as a security measure, I would strongly recommend having the having a whitelist of applications in your desktop settings. So only WinWord, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. can download files. And we've now got a default whitelist. That way, anything else, such as one of your users running a program called ransomware exe that you haven't got in there, will not be able to download and access those files. So that's just a hint on improving security, which for those of you who are turning up to my workshop in 9 days time or whatever, we'll cover that there in a bit more detail. So I think back to you for the moment, Kyle.
Great. Yeah, thanks for doing that. And
there is a whole load of oh, it's you doing a bit.
Yeah, I was sharing some of the commands, and I'll be sharing more commands as I'm sharing this next part. And if there's more questions, bring them in, and happy to pause and answer those. But I wanted to share something. This is, and so in support, sometimes people ask me, managers and whatnot, hey, what are some common questions, calls you get? And here's one of the common ones, and that is certificates. And just as a overview, I'm sure all of you are aware of it, just in case you're not, when you go to the web page, any HTTPS web page, the default certificate is a self-signed cert, which means it's not trusted. So your end users have to, accept that and trust it. Now, if you want to avoid that, if you want to be secure and avoid having your end users need to make that decision, you can use a third-party certificate. There's lots of CA certificate authorities out there. The one that you're going to see here is DigiCert, but there's Entrust, there's GoDaddy, there's Let's Encrypt. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're all good. And I don't promote one over the other.
Oh, you're just about to open a can of worms mentioning Let's Encrypt.
Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that one. Okay. But um, so I'm going to share with you some things, and I'm not a certificate expert, but knock on wood, I've been able to help every customer that's called in with a cert problem. And I'm going to basically walk you through what I do. And this is not the only way to do it, and it may not be the best way to do it, but it always works for me. And so I'm just going to share this because some of you might be interested and some of you might appreciate it, and someone might learn something. So there's so when you have a certificate, you have the server's private key. Well, first you have a CSR, certificate something request, signing request, um, that you generate from the Filr server, and we have tools to do that. You generate the CSR, you submit that CSR to a certificate authority, and then that certificate authority gives you back a server certificate and a root certificate. And then you use the private key, which is on the server, the Filr server, which is unique to the server, and those two certificate files you got from, and it's not always two, it can be more. There can be a certificate chain, and there's lots of different formats. And then you upload those to the Filr server, and then your Filr server is secure with that certificate. What I've seen with customers, and I don't know how they get in this situation, but their CSR and their service certificate, notice I've whited out stuff. This is because it's a customer situation, and I'm not going to share their information. But you can see they have their server certificate with the MD5 sum. Notice it ends in 386, whereas the CSR ends in 8D3. And then the private key, the MD5, the OpenSSL MD5, this is not the same as an MD5. This is an OpenSSL MD5, ends in 8D3. So these do not match. In fact, if you were to run this OpenSSL PKCS12 command, which the whole point of this command is to generate a PFX file. Now, a PFX file is a combination of all three of those files together. And for me personally, I like to work with PFX files because then when you go to the server, the Filr tools, all you have to do is upload one file. It contains everything. It contains the private key, the server key, and the root cert. And you can see here, in key is the VA server key, which in this case is the private key, and it has the service certificate, the CRT, and then the root certificate, the CRT. And notice it says no certificate matches private key, which once I did the OpenSSL commands, I agree. They do not match. So what do you do in that situation? This is what I do. There's different ways to generate the CSR. You can generate the CSR using the GUI tools. If you go on the 9443 page and you go to, Filr configuration, and then there's a certificate section, you can generate a CSR that way. Or you can use OpenSSL, and here's the OpenSSL command, req new key, and here's the private key, and that's where Filr does store it. It's VA storage, conf, certs, VA server, key, and then the out file. This is what we're producing. The out is this CSR, and I could have named this anything. I named it Filr 2022. I did this 2 years ago. CSR D. I think this is our fourth attempt. That's why I called it D. I'm not sure why. This was a while ago. So you run this command and it says, oh, okay, fill out this information. What's your 2-letter country code? For the United States, it'd be US, Canada would be CA, and so forth. Interestingly, if you put in a 3 like USA, you'll get errors that you won't quite understand, and you'll be frustrated. Make sure it even says 2-letter code, so make sure you do 2 letters. And then the state, this is more optional. The city is more optional, but you might as well fill out your organization. You put in the organization name, and then you put in the FQDN of your server, which that part I think is kind of important. I'm not sure, but I think it is. And then you're asked for a challenge password, which you'll put in. And then that creates the CSR, And then you can cat that CSR. It's just a text file, and you highlight everything from the dash 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 and highlight it all the way to the end of the dash dash dash, which in Putty that will copy the data into your clipboard. And then you go, now this will look different for everybody, depending, and in fact, this is 2 years ago. I'm sure DigiCert has updated it since then, but it'll be something like this, where you go in and you request a certificate, and you're going to see here in the bottom right, it's kind of small, but it says, I think it says reissue certificate. And when you want to request a certificate or reissue a certificate, you'll have to paste in the contents of that CSR, and you'll need to define the common name, and you want to make sure you put in the DNS name of the server. Unless it's a wildcard certificate, then it'd be like asterisk dot your domain. And then you'll submit the request, you'll confirm it. And again, I'm sure the interface has changed in the last 2 years, but this gives you an idea of what it could possibly look like. And then you want to download the certificate that was just generated. And now there's different formats that you can download. I always choose Tomcat. I think Apache would work, but I always use Tomcat. And like I said, I think Apache will work. But anyway, you can experiment. The worst case scenario, it doesn't work. It doesn't accept the certificate. And then there's different file types you can download. In this case, I chose this separate primary and intermediate CRT files. And that one seems to work for me. I think others could possibly work. And then you download it. And in this case, we got two CRT files. The root CA, which is DigiCert CA, Certificate Authority, and then the server certificate, which is the app named after the DNS name, .crt. And then I copy those two files. I create a directory. This is how I do it. I like to create a directory off the temp, and I call it, in this case, Certs 2022D. And then I put those three files in there. And the reason I do that is so I can run those commands, which I'm going to share these commands with you. It's OpenSSL X509 no out modulus in. It's reading in the server CRT file. So X509 is needed for the CRT, and then pipe open SSL MD5, and notice it ends in 8D3. And then I run it this similar command against the private key, which is, but this time it's RSA because I'm doing the private key. See, this is for the server certificate. This is for the private key, X509 versus RSA. Similar pipe OpenSSL MD5, and notice it matches 8D3. I'm just looking at the last 3 digits. Of course, the whole thing needs to match, but if the last 3 or 4 digits were matched, then it's pretty much going to be a match. And then the next command is the same command, but it's REQ, and this is for the CSR, just to see, hey, does this CSR match the private key, which matches the server key? And the answer is yes. So at this point, I can breathe a sigh of relief, and I can say with confidence, this is going to work. So I run that same OpenSSL command that I ran before, because last time I remember said it didn't match. But now I'm confident it will match. So it's an OpenSSL command. We're creating a PKCS12, which is the format. It's a PFX is a PKCS12. There's other extensions you can use. I'm just using PFX. And then my whole purpose of doing this is I want to export a file. And the file I want to export, -out, what do I want to come out of this? Well, in this directory, and I could have put it in any directory, I want to have, and I made up this name. I could have called it Mickey Mouse, but I like to use names that were reflective of what we're doing. It's a Filr 2022 cert.pfx. That's the whole purpose of running this, is to create the PFX. And the in key, what is the private key that we're inserting into this? Well, it's in this VA storage comp certs VA server.key, which is where Filr keeps the private key. And then we also want to put into this the server certificate, which I put the full path, and which is, remember, I got from the certificate authority, in this case DigiCert, and then a -cert file, which is the certificate authority file. And so now we're taking those 3 files and we're joining them all together into one. And when you do this, it'll ask you to create a password. And you can make up any password you want. You need to remember it for the next 2 minutes. And if you do get this prompt, then you can breathe an extra sigh of relief and say, this is going to work. In fact, I think I can say this is true. Every time I've gotten prompted for the password, it's worked after that. So otherwise, if you get an error here, like the server key doesn't match or something like that, or then you know it's not, you have something wrong. But because these MD5 zones matched, I was pretty confident this was going to work. And then notice I do an LL and look what was created, that PFX file, the Filr 2022 cert.pfx. So here I'm just highlighting those checksums did match. It did create this PFX file. And at this point, I can be really confident that I then copy that PFX file to my workstation using WinSCP. And then I go to my browser, log in, go to digital certificates, and I choose web application certificates, and I choose file, import, key pair, and then I'll click browse. I browse to that PFX file that I just copied over. I give an alias name. You can call it whatever you want. This is something that for you, what you'll see here. You put in the passphrase that I said you need to remember for 2 minutes. You put that in there. And then it says you must set the certificate as active and restart the server for changes to take effect. So the way you set it as active is you highlight it. See how that top one, the Filr 2022 cert, I just clicked on it. It highlighted that whole row in blue. And then I click that button to set as active. Notice VA admin is right now active. That was a failed attempt. That one was the active one. That's bolded. Now, eventually, that one, the Filr cert 2022, will be bold. It says, are you sure you want to mark the selective certificate as active? Notice now it's bold. Filr 2022 cert is bold. So it's the active certificate, but it's not configured yet. You have to click that home link in the upper right, and then click reboot, and it'll reboot the server. And then when you really can breathe a sigh of relief and you really know things are good is, see that lock key. Different browsers display it different ways. A lot of times it's to the left of the address bar, but you'll have the not secure. Here it is secure, it has the lock. You click on it, it says the certificate is identified. Anyway, this is secure. Now, a few warnings here. Some people will put in the IP address of an HTTPS. That's not going to work. It's not going to be secure because the whole point of the certificate is that the DNS name is what is being secured, not the.
Kyle, just on that point.
Yes.
A few comments have come in, saying that specifying the common name needs to match obviously the fully qualified domain name of the website that you're visiting. You can have wildcards on there as well. If you have an existing wildcard certificate, you can obviously import that rather than having to mint a specific filer certificate. Though you can also, Albert's mentioning that you can have SAN subject alternative names in there. Yes. So quite often what I'll see is the IP address in there as the SAN, and indeed any other. If you've got an internal name that you're hitting it on that's different to the external name, having that as well there, which is something to think about. And also, depending on how you're doing zones, if you've got multi-tenancy, you most probably, for different hosts, that you're supporting in the multi-tenancy, you'll need to have certificates for each zone that you're hitting it on. So if everything's off the same top domain with a wildcard certificate, that's fine. But if they're all over the place, then there are ways that you can support multiple different certificates in there without having to keep updating a new certificate with the SAN on the certificate every time you start hosting a new zone.
Yeah, yeah. Your everything you said, thank you, very valid, and there's tons more that could be said. I was just covering this one scenario, but thank you. Another thing to keep in mind is sometimes the browser will cache the old certificate, and so even after you do all these steps, you rebooted the server, you put in one of the subject alternative names or the DNS name, it still won't show as secure. In that situation, what I've done with customers is I'll open a different browser, or I'll put the browser in incognito mode, or we will clear the cache, and then it will show the correct certificate. So just wanted to make that also known that sometimes it's cached and it gets confusing and you'll scratch your head. But it usually is just a browser issue at that point. So yeah. And I think the reason I cover this again is this is one of the, I get probably one of these a week of someone needing help with certificates. And it's usually because somehow the way they requested it, the MD5 sums don't match, and it's just not going to work. And I pasted the MD5 sum commands. I think those are really important and useful because it gives you an idea of what's not matching up here, and you can troubleshoot it that way. Yeah. Are there other questions coming in, Robin?
The other certs also used for client server traffic. Yeah, so
Yes.
that's from Kevin. So yeah, they're used for the desktop client coming in and mobile client. So they come in over a secure link. They just so you're aware, they do come in on using the REST APIs there. But yes, they'll use that same certificate.
Yeah, and Kevin asked a really good
Kevin's asking for a
question.
TID.
Yeah, and I appreciate that question. I'm a big fan of TIDs. I really like to write TIDs. This one's a difficult one because everyone has a different certificate authority, and there's so many different ways to do it. But I do think we have a kind of a generic TID, and I'm going to look for that, and I'm going to share it in there.
And yeah, rather foolishly, I said I'd look at doing a video, Kevin, for not Kevin, for Kyle,
Yeah.
at some point or other. Hopefully, you're aware that there are a whole load of additional videos up on YouTube, going through Filr advanced features, how to install single server, how to install and configure content editor, and how to install the MFA appliance and get that up and running as well. But so we are trying to add additional videos to that list as well. So that's one there.
Yeah.
And Emilios is saying, would it be easier to front your filer through a load balancer, which obviously typically on a cluster you will be doing, but you'd still need to have the certificate there for your filer domain name, so that it's a valid certificate that you're hitting. But that could be hosted on the load balancer if you're terminating at the load balancer.
And I just shared a TID. This one I think is a pretty good one. Again, it's hard because there's so many different ways to do this, but no, that's a good TID, and it actually contains some of the commands that I was talking about. So yeah, check that tit out.
Kevin's saying he needs a video for my securing Filr workshop. I think the workshop is about 7 or 8 hours, Kevin. So that would be a long video. But maybe I can condense it a little.
Yeah, and here's another thing I would tell people. I actually do this quite a bit. Is just go to YouTube and put in Filr. You can try Open Text Filr. Also, you can try Microfocus Filr, and find Robin's videos. They're excellent. I've
Well,
said
I'm
this.
trying to get them added to the Filr playlist as well, but they haven't been added yet. What I'll do is just put in the chat window the Filr playlist, and they should be at some point or other added to that list there.
Yeah, I recommend those videos. I'll send links to customers for specific topics. Some of the great ones are installation ones, LDAP import configuration. That's one of my favorites.
So these are mainly 4.2 videos in that playlist I'm just posting in the chat window, but keep an eye on it, and the more recent videos should appear in there. They are up there. If, as Kyle said, you can just do a search for Filr and you'll find the later videos that have been posted in the past month or so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any others coming in? Kevin suggests subscribing to the playlist, which I assume you get notified if there's things changed on there. So some of those videos will get removed as well, because you don't really want to know about Filr 1.1 or whatever. So we're getting that. We'll get those removed as well from that playlist, so you have the most recent stuff. Any other questions? I think we're just about done. Stefan was asking about your bits and pieces. That's not in the chat. I think he posted the command. You posted the commands in the Q&A, didn't you?
Oh,
Kyle?
I think I did.
You want to post them in the chat?
Yes, I will.
Quickly.
Yeah, sorry. All right.
Oh, yeah. You should be able to see them in the Q&A.
There. I put them in the
Stefan.
there.
Oh, I can't see them in the chat.
Oh, there's an all Q&A. Yeah, I don't. You're right. Let me go to the
If you go
chat.
to the chat,
Okay. All right.
and post them there.
Okay. I just posted it in the chat.
No.
Oh, I answered it to another. Sorry. I need to go to the bottom. I can't see the playlist.
There's a different area chat.
Yep, there. I got it. Oh, no, I'm still doing the Q&A. Sorry.
How many times have you posted now?
I'm going to post it. All right. Let's see if that does it.
Yeah, that's the right one.
Okay, sorry about that.
We'll wait. So that's now in the chat, Stefan. You can get it from there. We'll wait a moment or two. I can't see any other questions coming through there. Oh, and Emilio's, the playlist is in the chat. I posted that in the chat window rather than the Q&A. So there. Anyway, we're just, I think, 1 minute short of the time up. So let's close that down. Hopefully, been time enough for people to copy those bits and pieces. from the chat window. But thank you very much, Kyle, for going through some of those bits and pieces that have changed, and the other bits with
certificates. Yeah.
Certificates. That's quite good. Oh, we got a bit more information on the desktop client randomly downloading bits and pieces. So what I would suggest you do is open an SR, but looking up that executable part is part of SSCM. So I don't know if our friends at Microsoft have done something that means that it can't be blocked or whatever, but I haven't heard of that issue from anyone else, and I'm sure that many people are running SSCM. So I would imagine it should get blocked there, but Kyle or one of his colleagues can help you if you open an SR. Anyway, thank you very much, Kyle, and thank you for everyone for attending. And hopefully we'll see you next month on next month's Filr product update call. And hopefully I'll be able to get this posted if you want to come back and listen into the YouTube playlist, and we'll start filling that up with the videos. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.